Hi guys, welcome back to Chats with Ash. I'm Ashley, your mindfulness and transformation mentor for parents and for teens, and for those who have a chair that serve parents and teens. I know I usually don't do my videos in my Udi, but I was feeling cozy today and I just got done recording for my cozy channel. So I figured out, why not have this conversation, a conversation that is going to pack a punch. And sometimes, you need a little security blanket. So let's go ahead and get into today's topic. We're going to talk about why reparenting is not always easy. So reparenting is a form of healing. It's also a form of working with your inner child and inner teen, and it is exactly how it sounds. Reparenting is just taking your inner child and inner teen and reparenting them, showing up for them in the way that you wanted and should have been shown up for as a child, telling them the things to encourage them that should have been told to you when you were a child, showing up for them and protecting them in the way that you should have been protected as a child, poured into, loved on, given grace, etc., etc. So it's pretty much taking the experience you had and then going back in time or present. Time is not linear. That's another discussion for another video. And showing up for them in the way you would have really needed and wanted and you yearned for, whether that's, something that your parents weren't giving to you, or certain authoritative roles in your life weren't giving to you that you needed, would have contributed to you having a healthier mental and emotional state. Then that is what reparenting is for. So I just want to talk about not how to do it, but why it can be really kind of hard or challenging at times. So we're going to get into the 4 things that might be why you're either hesitating to get into reparenting, or you started and you stopped with reparenting. And these are just 4. There's probably more than this, but I'm just going to give you 4 today. Bite size. So the first thing that is really hard to swallow is understanding that and acknowledging that your parents lacked in some way. Depending on your background and depending on who you were raised, this might be hard to swallow. You might have seen your parents as being imperfect, but not. And it might be really hard to go back to your inner teen and your inner child, and reparenting them might feel like you're saying your parents didn't do good enough, or you're saying that your parents, you're unthankful or you're ungrateful for what they have done and what they were able to provide for you, which is the furthest thing from the truth. Reparenting doesn't mean you're saying your parents were the worst in the whole world, or that they just abandoned you and you were a baby on the street and you had to figure out life. Reparenting is just filling in the gaps in the areas that you really needed, and maybe those adults in that point in time didn't have the tools, didn't have the understanding, or didn't have the capacity to give you those things. And that is just calling it what it is, people being human and imperfect. And so some people might feel guilty, might feel like they're saying something negative of their parents being in the process of reparenting, or it might be the opposite. It might be taking your parents off that pedestal and really realizing there were some huge gaps and some really huge things that they should have done differently with you, and now you're realizing they didn't. And that kind of makes this veil of a perfect parent go away, and that might be hard to swallow as well. Another thing that might keep somebody from reparenting themselves or stop in the middle of it is that you are having a struggle with caring about why it's needed. If you aren't interested in it, if it's not something that you see the value in, why would you do it? Some people struggle because they don't understand the value of reparenting and how that affects you now as an adult. I don't know if you remember this, but I mentioned this in a couple of videos back, and definitely I talked about it on my TikTok, is that our parents are the foundation that we build everything on. And so there is this balance of taking what they gave us and like running with it and just building everything on top of it, only to get to a certain age, whatever that age is for you, to realize that some of that foundation is whack. Some of it is rickety. Some of it has holes in it. Some of it is causing shifts in the foundation, and you have to go back and re-ask yourself, is this what I want to keep as my foundation? I'm realizing that it's not as peachy or as wonderful as I thought it was as a kid and a teen when I didn't have that awareness. But now that I'm doing self-help and growth, I'm realizing those are some of the things I need to change, because that crack is causing me to not have stable relationships, and the inconsistency in that cornerstone is causing me to not take self-accountability or to act out in a certain way. That specific area that is not solid is now causing me to put all these expectations on my partners or on my friends that aren't realistic, that should have been fulfilled by my parents. Those kinds of things. So if you are doing reparenting, which is part of inner teen and inner child work, you are going to examine that. You put on your little digging hat with a little light, and you go down to the foundation of who you are, and you look at it and you say, do I want to change it? Yes, I do. Okay. In what way, shape, or form could I show up for myself and my inner child and my inner teen psychologically, in my head, through meditation, through journaling, through therapy, through whatever that looks like for you, intentionally connecting with your inner child, and what holes do I need to fill? And I can fill now because I'm an adult, and I can fill now because I have an understanding of self, and I have an understanding of tools, mental and emotional tools, that I didn't then. Let me be the adult that I needed then, and let me go back and talk to myself to fill in those holes. If you don't understand that's what it's for and how it can be used to benefit you and to help you reaffirm and make your foundation even stronger, that then helps you as an adult in real life. And if you're a parent, even more so, then you're not going to do it. It sounds like woo-woo stuff and it makes no sense. And you're just going to be like, for what? I already went through that. I don't even know what that means. But that's what it is. That's literally all it is it's just going in and looking at your foundation and then being the adult you needed to make sure that that foundation was stable, healthy, and solid. So if you don't know, now you do know. The third reason why somebody might either not be interested in reparenting, but they are interested in some parts of inner child and inner teen work, is that they are not ready to feel the feelings. And I don't mean to feel the feelings of the sassy, rebellious teen or the shy teen or the insecure teen, but they may not be prepared to feel the way and see and move in the real honest feelings they have towards their parents or towards their guardians. You may be afraid that is going to dredge up a lot of anger, resentment, being upset. And I had this huge fear. I think I was more afraid of what that meant of me in other people's eyes, because I was raised in a very religious home where you honor your parents. That, and the way I was taught, is to kind of put them on a pedestal of, if they make a mistake, they're human, but you just have to accept them for who they are, and you're the child, so it is what it is. And so realizing how disappointed I was in some of their behaviors and in some of the things and situations that they placed me in as a teen or as a child, and realizing how unhealthy our relationship was really jolting and really hard for me. It was really hard growing up thinking I had one type of relationship with my parents and living in a bubble, y'all, in a bubble, and thinking it was healthy, and going to therapy and having that bubble popped and realizing this whole time I had an unhealthy relationship in some aspects, not all, but in some aspects, especially with my relationship with my mother, really jolted me. It made me, I was sad for such a long time. And you have to go through that loss of what you thought you had, that loss of what, you know, you assumed you had that was healthy, and realizing it for what it is, that's scary for people, and that's not always easy. It does take a moment. It takes a moment for you to be able to move in that, and to, one, accept it, two, feel your feelings, and three, being able to move on and say, okay, now that I understand this, what is next? What does this mean now? And moving into that next phase. That's not something everybody wants to do in their relationship with their parents or their guardians or the people that were around them in that time of childhood and teen, because you were so vulnerable. You literally relied on other people to do right by you. And if you know that people didn't do right by you, that could be very hard. Or if you grew up and you think that everybody did completely right by you and there were no mistakes, only to find that there were a lot of moments of unhealthiness, that can be also hard. So it's understandable. It's completely understandable to have fear, to want to ignore, to want to forget, to pretend like and not touch the topic. That's understandable, and that might be one of the reasons why people hesitate to go into reparenting. And then the fourth reason why people might hesitate to go into reparenting is trying to figure out what adult I want to be to my teen. What did they need from me? What does that look like? And how can I make sure I don't screw myself up even more? I think that was like a thought I had, like, dang, now I'm an adult. What does that mean for me and showing up for my inner teen? So she doesn't feel the same things again. And that's why I made a video specifically about ways for you to be careful in your inner teen work that might be counterproductive, like talking to my teen the way adults talked to me back then, or making her feel like she needs to rush through her feelings of a certain situation or experience, because as an adult, I'm like, we're over it. You should be over it. And that's not how healing works. That's not how it works. We need to let our inner teen, our inner child feel those things and go through the emotions, even if it's, yes, again, for the 10th time, or it's uncomfortable. And that's why I always say, having a therapist present in that is so beneficial. I had a therapist going through those things, and it was beneficial to me to have them, because I was like, I don't know if I can handle that. Can I handle that? Are we sure we want to go down this route? And having a professional there to guide me through it and to give me the tools to be able to move through it was huge for me. I would have probably not gone that route if I didn't have the tools. You got to have the tool belt, and you got to have the tools in the place for you to be able to grab when something comes up. So that was super beneficial to me. But yeah, some people kind of like, I don't know how to be to my inner teen. What if I talk to them like my mom talked to them? What if I talk to them like my dad talked to them? What if I talk to them like my grandma or my grandparents, or, you know, whatever figures that were important to you that kind of chipped away at you or maybe hurt you in some way? That's a legit fear to have. And so, one, I want to say the fact that you're aware of that and you're even saying you're afraid of it means you're very aware. So the chances of you doing that are slim to none. But it is a legit fear. We don't want to continue to create unhealthy patterns, and we definitely don't want to keep talking to ourselves like that. But the reason why reparenting is so crucial and important is that regardless of us being aware of, we don't want to create the same patterns within ourselves we do if we do not do the inner teen and inner child work. And if there's like no reparenting, those habits can repeat themselves. That negative self-talk can repeat themselves. Those unhealthy expectations and unhealthy like relationship patterns can repeat themselves. And reparenting is a great way to shift us into a healthier mode by working backwards and then forward into time. And it's also just, it's really peaceful to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I am the adult I wish I had when I was a teen, and to take that and show up for yourself as an adult. So when you're feeling insecure, you talk to yourself like that teen and you say, hey, baby girl, we got this. Like, to talk to yourself when that inner teen comes out and you're wanting to like snap at someone out of anger or fear because, you know, inside you're really sad, you're able to identify that and have that conversation and be able to communicate that with the other adult in real time. That is what reparenting an inner teen and inner child work does. That is the benefit of it. And so if you connected with any one of these 4 things, I want to tell you, you're not alone, that your feelings are valid and you're not alone in it. But even in that, know that it is so worth it, that it is beneficial, and everybody's healing journey is different. And maybe that is not the space you're in for right now, and that's not where you want to go. And that is okay too. Don't let anybody force you to move into a space that you are not ready or wanting to go into. But I highly suggest it. And if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them from my own personal experiences or how I work with parents in this as well. And yeah, I would love to hear from you below if you resonated, if any one of those 4 things resonated with you the most, if you've started reparenting inner teen, inner child work and how that is going for you, and what are some tips that you have for those who are currently either considering it or who are currently in it. All right, thank you so much for being with me on this video. I hope it was helpful and beneficial, and I will catch you guys on the next video.